create a distributed database. Imagine you have a bank and all your balances in the bank, and the bank gets on fire. You would like to have all replicated somewhere else, so immediately you switch to an alternative site. And for that you need distributed database. So distributed database is not something really new. Okay? Although the blockchain is a distributed database. Okay, so what is the main difference between the regular database and the blockchain? The database existed anyway. Okay. So databases were designed mostly to work inside organizations. Okay. So there was no problem to put in the design of this system that there would be an administrator that holds all the power to give power to other users, and then each user has different level of access to the database and can do different operations. Okay, so that's how this was designed, because it worked perfectly well inside companies and corporations. Everybody can select an administrator, and that was cool and worked very well inside companies. Okay, where somebody can be assigned the role of changing whatever he wants because they trusted these people. But if you want to run a database outside the company, like in the wild, on the internet, and you don't want to, or you didn't want to have one person being responsible for the data, then that problem was not solved until it was invented with Bitcoin, the first type of blockchain. So, in my view, one of the great inventions is that you can run a database outside a company in a distributed environment with nobody eliminating the role of the administrator. Okay? So it's like every user of this database using this public and private key cryptography owns a piece of the data of the database, and using signing transactions with the private key, they can change the status of the part of the database that they control. Okay? In the case of Bitcoin, the database is about transaction, but it could have been about something else. But in this case, it was invented like a transactional system, a payment system. So what you can change with your transaction is the status of what you control. In the case of blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain, there are like inputs and this and that, unspent inputs you change. No? So this was like a breakthrough because it allowed for the first time to store information outside the boundaries of an institution. And specifically, if you create a monetary system like Bitcoin, then it had a lot of potential, because if these systems start growing and growing and growing, then it can, at some point, it can compete with a monetary system run by regular institutions. And if that happens, then it's a very big deal. Because imagine any currency competing with the US dollar or some other big currency, the power balance in the world changes, and a lot of things can change in the world. So a lot of people saw that potential and say, okay, this is cool, so let's put our effort in moving this forward. And that's how it was initiated, people thinking like that. And then a lot of other people start jumping into the train and moving forward for other purposes. Because one of the purposes was gain some economic return just by investing in Bitcoin or doing some of the things that were possible to be done by that. But more or less, this is the history simplified. Databases already exist, but only inside company, this allowed to run databases and stuff. So when this was done and start growing, a lot of people start thinking, okay, how we can use this for other things or other purpose that is not just recording financial transactions. So then people start imagine other usage, like for example, imagine digital assets that are representations of assets, but in a digital way that you can only outside the control of also companies or institutions, and that is one of the lines in which this evolved. Another usage that they imagined was, because this is an immutable record, that that this blockchain is recording transactions in blocks that are chained together. Then somebody say, okay, then we can use it for notarization processes or things like that. No? You want to record or prove that something existed, you record it on the blockchain in one transaction, and because nobody can change it, then it can serve as a proof that something happened or things like that. So there's another line of development on that direction. And then people got even more creative and say, okay, this processor of transaction has, going into the more technical, like a script language that allows you to process this transaction. So somebody said, why don't we expand this, and instead of accepting only a few commands, we put a full language that so we can run any arbitrary program, okay? So instead of being a processor of financial transaction, we can create like a virtual machine, a decentralized virtual machine where we can execute whatever people want to execute in a decentralized way. So that was called Ethereum, okay? It was invented a couple of years ago. And once they implement that, a lot of things they started to put it on top, and things continue expanding, okay? And things continue expanding and expanding, and more people inventing more. So the very big deal of all this is based on the disruptive potential it has. Not in what has accomplished so far, that is quite a lot, but the disruptive potential. If things like Bitcoin get massive, Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, everybody in the planet has a wallet in their phone and start using this, there are a lot of things that start changing. For example, the business of moving money around the world that today is run by banks. One of the business models that the bank is that, or remittances company that is $1 trillion industry, it may disappear because if I can send to Argentina money with almost no cost instantaneously and nobody asking me any question, instead of taking a week and paying every intermediary, then I would do it, you would do it, everybody would do it. So that business disappears. No? And that's only the beginning. This biggest intermediation happened, and then what I said at the beginning, that these start competing with other currencies and things start rebalancing, no? The power of the world. So we're talking about money. No? That is how this world is run. Okay, so this is what was happening. So any questions so far? This is more or less the background, the context of what you're doing. More clear? Okay.
Not sure if you know it, but a milestone is reached because Bitcoin's price, first time, is more than the gold. So I think that's a milestone. But Bitcoin's capitalization is still about 25 billion USD, so it's still time to improve.
Okay, so all of this it's very interesting and a lot of things to do on IT here. So, yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, if this blockchain, though, comes with a cost, right, to have this distributed ownership, and it's that there has to be some work being done by people, right?
By people or by machines? Or
yeah, by machines.
You mean the cost for mining?
Yeah.
Well, yes, that's also one of the line of evolution and research on all this. Bitcoin invented a way of mining that everybody knows that spending electricity with computer calculating hashes. And then some people start inventing other alternatives. And today there is like an array of different options. Bitcoin has one, and many cryptocurrencies that are coming from the same code base have this type of mining and wasting. Well, some people say wasting, some people say it's not waste because it's the way to secure the blockchain. But some other people think that there are ways to secure it without using that energy. Okay? In fact, we are one of those. We think we found one way that nobody thought about it so far. So 2.5 years ago, I learned about this Bitcoin stuff, and I was doing some other project. I'm like an entrepreneur, but I started working more or less at your age, or maybe younger, doing banking systems. So I understood when I read about this how it worked and the potential it has to produce change. So I decided to switch and to create a project. And in my view, I was going to do something that probably my last project. So I was going to put a lot of effort, so I didn't want to just go and do the first thing that came to my mind. So I spent a lot of time, like 6 months, thinking what to do. And really there were a lot of things to do. And the more you think, the more you can imagine things to do. So, yeah, but because it was my last project, I just took like 6 months and consult with other people that were colleagues. And first we had an idea, another, and then we end up figuring or envisioning a system that somehow evolved like on a sideline of the blockchain evolution. A lot of people were like taking this evolution that I was telling you. They thought that in mutability they can use that property for creating some stuff or digital asset or this and that. And the more you think without doing nothing, you start seeing things that others are not seeing just because they are in a rush. And we start diverging to another, and we evolve like in an Iceland. You know, it evolves separate from the other, and now we are rejoining the rest of the group. So in this evolution of this project, in the end, the idea was to try to use the capabilities of this new technology, but also rethink it in another way to accomplish a vision that is quite ambitious, in the sense that what we want to do in the end is, we also believe philosophically, let's say, in that this decentralization and the impact of all this can really have a lot of impact in the world if you manage to take it to the global scale. If not, it doesn't have any impact. So we wanted to take this to the point where we can create what we envisioned was like a good scenario of the future. Okay? I'm going to speak a little bit like philosophical now, not so technical, but this is the reason why we're doing this in the end. So the reason we're doing this is because we believe that as many Bitcoiners, original people pushing this, that banks are not so good. In general, we'll say it's not that banks are not good. In general, there is a problem in the way that the world is organized. And the root of the problem probably is concentration of power. Okay? Because there is no limit in how much the power can be concentrated in a country or in a company or whatever, and companies can buy each other and consolidate, and one company in the end own it all. Then, if you see this concentration of power and you project it in the future, you may imagine that in the future it's going to be even more concentrated, and things start going worse and worse. No? Well, yesterday there was a big leak about the CIA and how it's spy everywhere. So imagine this in 10 years or 20 years, no? When instead of using mobile phone, you have a chip in your brain, and then the CIA is listening what you think. You know? So it's not really a good future. And somebody has to do something. That's what we believe. So some people is willing to take it as their personal goal, let's say, and take action. And maybe I and some other guys are one of these people who think that they should take action. Just because if we are in 20 years and things go really bad, it will be very unlikely that we can come back from the future to the present to fix it. You know? So it's better we do it now. So we thought, how do we prevent such a future, and at the same time we create an alternative future that is much better. You know? So just watch the context of what is going on in the world. Technology is advancing, trends, mobile, everybody uses mobile, artificial intelligence starting to replace a lot of type of jobs. You will see soon robots, automation in cars, everything automated, artificial intelligence, this and that. And if you project all these trends, then you say, well, what are humans going to do then? If robots have all the work and everything is automated and this and that, what is going to happen with my mother, with my father? Because we are technical people, probably we are in the best position. But what about the rest? No? It's like there is no space for people that is not technical. It's not very good. No? So wouldn't it be better if this machine, instead of being killing other in the wars, it's a war for humans, no? Or the artificial intelligence enhances humans' life instead of take their jobs. That really doesn't make sense for them. what's going on and what's going to happen. You know, some people is worried about artificial intelligence, like going nasty and then you like Terminator stuff or whatever. No? But you don't have to be so extreme. Just taking everybody's job is enough for killing nobody knows how many millions of people. So why don't we use all these to empower people instead of to put it in the worst conditions? So with that in mind, we start thinking what would we need to create those conditions. And one of the things that we boiled it down the problem was that if we can create, or we can allow people to communicate in a secure way, but not for chatting, but for any type of interactions, no? Like directly from my phone to your phone, with nobody's spying, not only when I chat, but also if I'm taking a service from you, even if you are a taxi driver or whatever, everything like similar to the concept of Bitcoin with the financial industry, disintermediating all companies and institutions, so that in the eventual case that all these go bad, you know, still people can communicate electronically between each other and do business, totally in parallel of everything that is already wrong. You know? So thinking about that future, that's where we want to get. You know? We want to get in a future where people interact with the type of applications that are installed in my phone and your phone, and my phone is connected directly to yours. And to acquire that connection, I didn't use any company or institution or government to find you and to get the direct connection. No? If we can get there, then we empower people, because if everything goes wrong, then we can do business and create a parallel economy. You know? And we still can sell services between each other, even if machines are killing us or doing us. So that's the idea. So to get to that future is that we created all this stuff. And you will see that it's kind of a little bit complicated, because there are a lot of things to solve to get to that point. Okay? It might sound easy to connect my phone to your phone, but phones are behind several layers of firewalls and this and that. And it seems that nobody wanted really this to happen easily. So, and beyond that, it's not so easy to say I'm going to connect to your phone, because technically how can I connect to your phone? First, I need to find you as a person. You know, I need a service, but also I don't want to go and find you on Facebook. Maybe Facebook is owned by Google and Google owned by who does not who, you know, and everything is wrong. So I need to find you in an independent way. Okay? From solving that problem is that this Internet of People comes. Okay? For how we find people without depending on anybody else, and how we allow this connection using some decentralized service that helps my phone to get connected directly to your phone. Once we reach that point, then we expect an ecosystem of applications to be built, not only for chat, but for anything that can create an economy that is independent of the rest of the world organization, that has the potential to disrupt the other stuff. No? So if everything is wrong, then we can disrupt it just not using